I stared at the gilded ceiling of the royal bedchamber, listening to the rhythmic breathing of the most powerful man in the continent. Being the personal bodyguard to King Harold, a prime alpha with a temper as volatile as a thunderstorm, was supposed to be a background role. According to the romance novel I had inexplicably woken up in 3 years ago, I was Albert, the loyal, stoic royal guard. My job was simple: stand in the corner, look intimidating, and eventually become the glorified messenger boy when the true heroine, a delicate omega named Isabella, arrived to melt the Ice King's heart. But as I adjusted the heavy velvet curtains to let in the morning light, I couldn't help but feel that the plot had gone off the rails. Albert, a deep, gravelly voice rumbled from the massive four-poster bed. It was the kind of voice that vibrated in your chest, rich with the commanding timbre of a high-tier alpha. I turned, clasping my hands behind my back, my posture rigid. "Good morning, Your Majesty. The council meets in an hour." Harold sat up, the silk sheets pooling around his waist. His scars, souvenirs from the border wars where we had fought back to back, glistened faintly in the sun. He ran a hand through his messy, ink-black hair and fixed me with a stare that could freeze hell over. "You're loud when you think, Albert," he grumbled, swinging his legs out of bed. "I didn't say a word, sire," I replied smoothly. "You didn't have to. Your scent spiked. You smell like—" He sniffed the air, his nose twitching. "Like burnt sugar and cynicism." I fought the urge to roll my eyes. That was the trouble with alphas. They thought their noses gave them a backstage pass to your soul. "I smell like efficient service, Your Majesty. Now, Lady Clarissa is waiting in the antechamber. She claims to have a breakfast that will revitalize your energies." "I can't, sir. She's the daughter of Duke Miller." "Politics," I reminded him, walking over to lay out his ceremonial robes. "I do not squirm," Harold growled, standing up to his full, imposing height. He towered over me, a wall of muscle and dominance. A few moments later, we were in the drawing room. Lady Clarissa swept in, a cloud of floral perfume that was almost choking. She was holding a thermos with a triumphant smile plastered on her face. "Your Majesty," she squealed, dropping into a curtsy that was low enough to be considered a yoga pose. "I woke up at dawn. I prepared this venison vitality broth just for you. It's an ancient recipe from the Highlands. They say it makes a man indefatigable." I stood by Harold's right side, my face a mask of stone, but inside, I was howling with laughter. Indefatigable, the rumors in the capital were wild. They said the king had a harem of 3,000 beauties, but never visited them at night because his royal scepter was more of a decorative twig. The irony was delicious. Harold, the god of war, the alpha who could crush a skull with one hand, was rumored to be impotent. Harold stared at the thermos as if it contained radioactive waste. He glanced at me, his eyes pleading for a rescue. I stepped forward, pulling a silver testing needle from my belt. "Protocol, Lady Clarissa," I said, my voice flat. "The royal guard must test all consumables." "Oh, of course, Albert," she said, her smile faltering slightly. "You are so diligent." I opened the thermos. The smell hit me instantly, pungent, earthy, and definitely laced with enough herbal stimulants to jumpstart a dead horse. I dipped the needle. No poison. I took a small spoon, swallowed a mouthful, and fought the urge to gag. It tasted like sweaty Jim's socks boiled in vinegar. I turned back to Harold, keeping my face perfectly neutral. "It is safe, Your Majesty, and quite potent. It would be a shame to waste Lady Clarissa's hard work. She has been simmering this since 4 a.m. Harold's eyes narrowed at me. He knew exactly what I was doing. I was enjoying this. "Albert says it is safe," Harold said, his voice dripping with ice. "But I find my appetite lacking. Perhaps you should finish it, Albert. You look like you need the energy." My internal laughter died instantly. "Checkmate. Your Majesty is too kind," I gritted out. "Oh no," Lady Clarissa interjected, looking horrified. "It's for the king. Albert is just a beta guard. He wouldn't handle the heat." I stiffened. Right. To the world, I was a beta. A boring, scentless beta. It was the only way I could stay by Harold's side without the council trying to breed me off or the king's instincts going haywire. I took suppressants strong enough to kill a lesser man. Harold's demeanor shifted instantly. The playfulness vanished, replaced by a cold, sharp edge. He looked at Clarissa. You seem to know a lot about my guard's physiology, Lady Clarissa. I only meant. She stammered. Leave it, Harold commanded, pointing at the table. And get out. When she was gone, Harold looked at me, his gaze lingering on my neck where my scent gland was hidden beneath a high collar. You provoked her. I was doing my job. I lied. You were laughing at me, he corrected. Then he stepped closer, invading my personal space. The scent of him, ozone and cedarwood, washed over me. Do you believe the rumors too, Albert? Do you think your king is incapable? My heart hammered against my ribs. I believe the king is saving his strength for the battlefield, not the bedroom. Harold let out a sharp, bitter laugh. The battlefield is simpler. You know who your enemy is. Here. He gestured vaguely at the palace walls. Everyone wants something. Except you. He paused, his eyes searching mine. What do you want, Albert? I want to survive until the heroine shows up so I can retire to a farm and never smell another political scheme again, I thought. I want a raise, I said aloud. Harold snorted, the tension breaking. Denied. Get the horses ready. We're going to the royal gardens. I need fresh air before I suffocate. The royal gardens were in full bloom, a riot of colors that masked the rod of the court. I walked 2 paces behind Harold, my hand resting on the hilt of my sword. We weren't alone for long. Oh, look, it's His Majesty. A shrill voice cut through the tranquility. 2 women approached. Consort Elena and Consort Sarah. Elena was stunning, a classic beauty with porcelain skin, while Sarah had a sharp, exotic allure. They were the top contenders in the harem, vicious rivals who would smile while stabbing you in the back. Your Majesty, Elena cooed, linking her arm through Harold's before I could intervene. The hydrangeas are lovely, but not as lovely as seeing you. Indeed, Sarah added, flanking his other side. You look tired, sire. Have a pastry? I baked them myself. She held up a small, intricate cake. Harold looked trapped. Ladies, I was just discussing security protocols with Albert. Oh, hush, Elena laughed. Albert is always so serious. Let the king eat, Albert. Don't be a bore. I stepped forward, my instincts screaming. Protocol dictates I taste it first. Sarah's eyes flashed with annoyance, but she held out the tray. Go ahead. It's just almond and honey. I picked up the cake. It smelled sweet, too sweet. There was an underlying note, something cloying that made the back of my throat itch. I took a bite. The flavor exploded on my tongue, delicious and addictive. But a second later, a subtle numbness spread through my lips. Siren's breath, it wasn't a lethal poison. It was a mild narcotic, used to lower inhibitions and create a dependency. If Harold ate this daily, he'd become docile, easily manipulated, and addicted to the person feeding it to him. I spat the cake out onto the grass. Albert, Sarah shrieked. How dare you? That is a royal delicacy. It's poisoned, I said, my voice flat. It contains Siren's breath. The color drained from Sarah's face. She dropped to her knees. No, Your Majesty, I didn't know. The kitchen staff. Harold didn't look at her. He looked at me, his eyes wide with genuine concern. He grabbed my shoulders, his grip bruising. You ate it. Albert, are you all right? Do you need the physician? It's a small dose, sir. I'll be fine. Just a numb tongue. Harold turned to Sarah, and the temperature in the garden seemed to drop 20 degrees. His pheromones flooded the area, pure, unadulterated alpha rage. It was a physical weight, pressing down on everyone. Sarah whimpered, pressing her forehead to the dirt. You tried to drug your king, Harold whispered, and the quietness of his voice was more terrifying than a shout. Guards, take her to the dungeons. And arrest her father, Lord Jean. If he thinks he can control the crown through addiction, he will learn the price of treason. As the guards dragged the weeping woman away, Harold turned back to me. He ignored Elena, who was trembling like a leaf. He pulled a handkerchief from his pocket and wiped a crumb from my lip. You are reckless, he murmured. You shouldn't have swallowed. I didn't swallow much, I said, trying to ignore the way his thumb lingered on my lower lip. Show, don't tell, right? If I just said it was bad, she'd deny it. Spitting it out makes a statement. You could have been hurt. Harold's eyes were dark, swirling with an emotion I couldn't place. Possessiveness? Anger? If you die, who will watch my back? You have an entire army, Harold. I slipped and used his name. He didn't correct me. They are soldiers. You are my partner. He turned and stormed back towards the palace, his cape billowing. I watched him go, my heart doing a traitorous little flip. Don't get attached, I told myself. Asterisk wait for Isabella. She's the one who fixes him. You're just the placeholder. Asterisk. 2 weeks later, the annual grand hunt began. This was the highlight of the social season, a chance for alphas to flex their testosterone and for omegas to swoon. I was checking the saddle girth on Harold's black stallion when he appeared. He was dressed in leather hunting gear that hugged his broad chest and muscular thighs. He looked every bit the predator he was. Albert, he called out, tossing me a quiver of arrows. Mount up. You're riding with me. Sir, usually the guards ride the perimeter. Today, you ride with me, he commanded. I'm bored of these sycophants letting me win. I want a challenge. I want to race you. I looked at him, surprised. We hadn't raced since we were teenagers, before the weight of the crown crushed the joy out of him. A race? What's the prize? Harold grinned, a boyish, dangerous expression. If I win, you have to grant me one request. Anything I want. No questions asked. And if I win, I challenged, swinging onto my own horse. Then I grant you a request. Anything within my power. Deal, I said. I'm going to ask for a 3-month vacation. You'll lose, he laughed, kicking his horse into a gallop. We tore through the forest, the wind rushing past my ears. For a moment, we weren't king and guard. We were just Harold and Albert, 2 wild spirits thundering through the trees. The scent of pine and damp earth mixed with Harold's cedarwood pheromones, creating a heady intoxication. I saw a stag ahead, a massive beast with a crown of antlers. I drew my bow, my thighs gripping the horse's flanks. I focused, breathing steady. Thwack, my arrow flew true. But a split second later, asterisk thwack asterisk, another arrow split mine right down the middle, burying itself in the stag's heart. I pulled my horse to a halt, staring at the stag. Harold trotted up next to me, looking smug. I believe that's my kill, Albert. You split my arrow. I exclaimed. That's cheating. Or showing off. Definitely showing off. It's called skill, he said, his eyes crinkling at the corners. I win. You owe me a favor. Fine, I huffed. What do you want? My dessert ration for a week. Harold's expression softened. He rode closer, until our knees were touching. The forest was silent around us. I haven't decided yet. I'll hold on to it. That night, the celebration in the camp was raucous. The nobles were drunk, the fires were roaring, and the air was thick with the smell of roasting meat. To the king, General Miller, my father, shouted, raising a goblet. The greatest hunter in the realm. Harold raised his cup, looking bored. To the hunt. My father stumbled forward, his face flushed with wine. He bowed clumsily. Your Majesty, I have a request. A reward for my loyal service. Harold leaned back in his throne, eyeing my father. Speak, General. My father pointed a shaking finger at me. My son, Albert. He is 25. He is unwed. It is a disgrace. He spends all his time in the palace. I ask that you release him from service. Let him find a nice omega, or beta, and settle down. Give me grandchildren. The music stopped. The chatter died. Every eye turned to me. I froze, my wine cup halfway to my mouth. Asterisk marriage? Leaving the palace? Asterisk that was exactly what I wanted, right? To escape before the plot kicked me out? I looked at Harold. The king was gripping the armrests of his chair so hard the wood groaned. His knuckles were white. His scent had turned sour, like ozone before a lightning strike. The air around him crackled with suppressed violence. Release him, Harold said, his voice low and dangerous. You want to take my personal guard away? He has served long enough, my father argued, oblivious to the danger. He needs a family. He needs a mate. He has a duty. Harold roared, standing up. The table rattled. He belongs to the crown. He belongs to the kingdom. But sire, my father persisted. A man cannot sleep alone forever. Harold's eyes flashed red, the sign of an alpha on the brink of a rut. Albert's marriage is a matter of state security. I will decide when and if he marries. Until then, anyone who suggests taking him from my side will be considered an enemy of the throne. He kicked his chair back and stormed out of the tent. Albert, with me. Now, I scrambled to follow him, feeling the burning stares of the court on my back. We entered the king's tent. Harold paced back and forth, ripping off his heavy fur cloak and throwing it on the floor. How dare he, Harold hissed. How dare he try to take you? He's my father, Harold. He just wants me to be happy. Would you be happy? Harold spun around, advancing on me. Would you be happy leaving me? Going to live on some farm with a stranger? Breeding pups and forgetting everything we've built? I faltered. Being this close to an angry alpha was affecting my suppressants. My knees felt weak. It's the natural order of things, isn't it? Eventually, you'll find your queen. You won't need a shadow anymore. You are not a shadow. Harold grabbed my face between his hands. His palms were rough, hot. You are the only real thing in my life, Albert. The only one who doesn't want something from me. If you leave, his voice cracked. If you leave, I will burn this kingdom to the ground just to find you. My breath hitched. This wasn't in the script. The king was supposed to be cold until the heroine arrived. He wasn't supposed to look at his bodyguard like he was the only source of oxygen in the room. Harold, I whispered. You're tired. It's the adrenaline from the hunt. He stared at me for a long moment, his thumb tracing my cheekbone. Then, abruptly, he let go and turned away. Get out, he rasped. Guard the door. Don't let anyone in. I fled the tent, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. The turning point came 3 days after we returned to the capital. I was standing my usual post in the throne room when the announcement came. Presenting Lady Isabella, daughter of Minister Chi. My stomach dropped. This was it. The plot. The main character. Isabella walked in. She was everything the book described. Petite, large doe eyes, radiating a soft, sweet scent of lilies that even I could smell through my suppressants. She tripped slightly on the hem of her dress, a classic clumsy cute move, and Harold stood up. In the book, this was the moment he fell in love. Harold walked down the steps of the dais. He caught her arm to steady her. Careful, he said. Isabella looked up at him, blushing. Thank you, Your Majesty. I am so clumsy. You are Lady Isabella? Harold asked. Yes, Your Majesty. Harold nodded. I have heard much about your father's work in the Ministry of Agriculture. Walk with me in the gardens. I wish to discuss the harvest. He offered her his arm. She took it, beaming. As they walked past me, Harold didn't even glance in my direction. Albert, you are dismissed for the afternoon. Stay in your quarters. The door closed behind them. I stood there, alone in the empty throne room. It felt like someone had reached into my chest and squeezed my heart until it burst. This was supposed to be a relief. The plot was correcting itself. I was free. So why did it feel like the end of the world? I went back to my room in the guards' quarters. I started packing. If the heroine was here, my time was up. I'd request a transfer to the border tomorrow. Night fell. I sat on the edge of my narrow bed, holding the small wooden carving of a wolf Harold had made for me when we were teenagers. A tear slipped down my cheek. Then another. Soon, I was sobbing, silent, racking heaves that shook my whole body. Stupid, I scolded myself. Asterisk stupid Omega. Falling for the Alpha King. You knew this would happen. Asterisk the door creaked open. I froze, hastily wiping my face. Who is it? I said I didn't want dinner. Albert. It was Harold. I jumped up, turning my back to him. Your Majesty. I wasn't expecting you. Shouldn't you be with Lady Isabella? Isabella. Harold's voice was confused. He stepped into the room, closing the door. Why would I be with her? I sent her home hours ago. But the walk in the garden, the spark, the romance novel tropes. I blurted out, hysterical. Romance novel. What are you talking about? Harold walked around me to see my face. I tried to look away, but he caught my chin. Albert, you've been crying. I have allergies, I lied weakly. Dust mites. You're crying, he repeated, his voice filled with wonder. Why? Because you found her. I shouted, pushing his hand away. You found your queen. Now I'm just the extra baggage. You're going to marry her and have heirs, and I'll be stuck guarding the door listening to you be happy. Harold stared at me, stunned. Then, slowly, a smile spread across his face. A real smile. Predatory and triumphant. You're jealous, he said. I am not. You are. You think I'm courting Isabella. He laughed, a deep, rumbling sound. Albert, I spoke to her because her father controls the grain supply, and I need him to agree to the new tax laws. She's a nice girl, but she smells like baby powder. I hate baby powder. You? You do? Yes. He stepped closer, backing me up against the bed. I told you, Albert. I don't want a stranger. I told you I had a favor to collect from the hunt. My back hit the mattress. The favor? You want to use it now? Yes. Harold leaned down, his face inches from mine. His eyes were dark, dilated. My request is this. Tell me the truth. Tell me what you are. I'm your guard, I whispered. No. He growled softly, sniffing my neck. Your suppressants are wearing off, Albert. I can smell it. Beneath the chemicals. You smell like rain. Like ozone. Like my perfect match. My breath hitched. Harold, you're an omega, he stated, not a question. A prime omega. Hiding in plain sight. I had to. I confessed, my voice trembling. If they knew, I couldn't be a soldier. I couldn't protect you. You protected me, he murmured, his lips brushing against the sensitive skin of my neck. You protected me with your life. Now, let me protect you. But the laws. An omega can't be a guard. I am the king, Harold said fiercely. I make the laws. And I am abolishing the harem. My eyes widened. What? The harem? It's gone. I dismissed them all this morning. Why do you think I was so busy? But, the heirs. We can make heirs, he whispered, his hand sliding down to my waist, pulling me flush against him. You and I. Harold, say it, he demanded. Say you want this. Say you want me. I looked into his eyes, the eyes of the boy I grew up with, the man I had followed into war, the king I had loved in secret for years. The plot didn't matter anymore. The book didn't matter. I want you, I breathed. I love you, Harold. He didn't hesitate. He crashed his lips onto mine, a kiss that was years in the making, hungry, desperate, and possessing. It wasn't gentle. It was a claim. His tongue swept into my mouth, tasting me, owning me. I wrapped my arms around his neck, pulling him closer, melting into the heat of his body. He pushed me down onto the bed, his weight a heavy, comforting blanket. Mine, he growled against my lips. Finally mine. The next morning, the throne room was in chaos. I stood next to the throne, not in my guard uniform, but in the silken robes of a royal consort. My neck was covered in bite marks, hidden poorly by a high collar, and my legs felt like jelly. Harold sat on the throne, looking more relaxed and powerful than I had ever seen him. This is madness. Lord Zhang shouted. You cannot marry a man, even if he is suddenly revealed to be an omega. It breaks tradition. Tradition, Harold said, his voice projecting effortlessly to the back of the hall, dictates that the king must marry his true mate. The royal physician has confirmed it. Albert and I share a bond rating of 100%. Gasps echoed through the hall. A 100% match was legendary. It was myth. Furthermore, Harold continued, I have disbanded the harem. I have no need for 3,000 concubines when I have one partner who is worth more than all of them combined. But your majesty, another minister cried. The rumors. They say you are incapable. Harold smirked. He reached out and took my hand, intertwining our fingers in front of the entire court. He squeezed my hand, and I felt a flush rise to my cheeks, remembering exactly how capable he had been all night. Let the rumors persist if they must, Harold said coolly. My consort knows the truth, and that is all that matters. He looked at me then, ignoring the shouting nobles, the shocked generals, and the crumbling plot of the romance novel. He looked at me with that same intense, possessive gaze from the tent. Are you with me, Albert? He asked softly. I squeezed his hand back. Always, your majesty. Back to back. Good, he said, raising our joined hands. Then let them talk. We have a kingdom to run, and for the first time since I arrived in this world, I didn't feel like a character in a book. I felt like the protagonist of my own life. The end.